Good afternoon. I'm John with the Pine Tree, and I'm here with Mark Aiton, and we're going to talk about the Bear Valley Triathlon, and hopefully get a little more about its company and stuff. I think it's a pretty cool story to have somebody like this up here in our area. So, thanks for stopping by today.
Glad to do it.
Yeah. Well, now tell us a little bit about the upcoming event for this weekend.
Well, Sunday morning we'll be up in Bear Valley for the 14th annual Bear Valley Triathlon. It's a 600-yard swim followed by a criterium-style loop course, 10.5-mile bike ride, and then a 3.25-mile run. Got a couple of good uphills on the bike that you get to do 3 times, and then you get to do the same uphill on the run. And of course, the race is at 7,200 feet, so you get to suck oxygen. So where's the good news? We start the race at 10 a.m. No hitting water at 7,000 feet at 6 in the morning. We started at 10 a.m. Registration opens at 8:30, and if people want to come up and do it, we'll be there starting at 6 a.m. Reg will open at 8:30. You can do that, or you can go now and pre-register at www.onyourmarkevents.com.
Cool. Now, is the course? Where's the course in Bear Valley? Is it?
It's been kitted that it's a tour of Bear Valley. The race starts and finishes at the Homeowners Lake.
Okay.
At the upper end of Bear Valley, and we do it on the high side on Springview is the street. And we close the street down for the transition area, which is where you come out of the water and get your bike and start to run, etc. And we do a loop using Bear Valley Road, John Ebbets Road, and a couple others, but we end up looping the whole valley. We come down on the west side, coming out behind the sheriff's substation, sort of by the snowmobile shop there, and cross the road. And the big hill on it is the hill that goes from Bear Valley School back up to the top.
So you do the loop back up the hill?
Yes, and it's a 700-yard hill, and we do that loop 3 times. And when we moved the course about 6 years ago to that bike route as opposed to being out on the highway, we found that the villagers come out, and we'll get people cheering the riders on, yelling for them. People set up impromptu water stations for them when they're on the run and stuff. So there's some village involvement. It makes it really nice.
It almost makes it for a nice spectator because it's a fairly compact area then, so that, as far as spectator stuff and
correct
road stuff. Yeah.
It's we've always known that a loop course generates excitement because people can see their spouse, their family member, their best friend.
Sure.
And it's a little bit narrow up there, but we have places that spectators can line, and we set up caution tape so they'll stay behind it because the better riders will come through that transition area the first 2 times at about 30 miles an hour.
Wow.
And we don't want anybody jumping out in front of them, so we're pretty diligent about that.
So it's not NASCAR, so crashes aren't part of the excitement.
We try to avoid them. We've had our share in the years, all in the same neighborhood as where John Ebbets goes to its southernmost extreme point and makes a 180-degree turn coming back. We've had some people go down there over the years who don't listen when we tell them that that's there, and they don't observe the cones we have to caution them to slow down, and they just sort of fly off and end up in somebody's backyard. But in general, we've had most people have been fairly healthy and stayed alive and not fallen. And the run is just an oxygen sucker. That's all. It's not hard. There's some downhill and there's that long uphill, but it's not that difficult. The bike is what makes it fun.
Now, is this a pro level event, or can Joe Schmoes get into it if they want to try to do a triathlon?
The field is probably 50% on a mountain bike because that's all they own. The other 50% are on a road bike, and it's geared towards novices. I will be honest and say we've had some pros come and do it. We offer an absolutely beautiful trophy that we have carved locally. We offer them at some of our bigger triathlons around Northern California. And so we'll have people come to win that trophy. But overall, take away the top 1 or 2 males and the top 1 or 2 females, and the field is really novice-oriented. And even the 50% that are on road bikes, most of them aren't set up for this kind of ride. They're just a road bike that they own. So people show up, do it. There's a lot of people, it's the one triathlon they do a year, and that's it.
Now, we were talking before earlier about another triathlon you did in the area. Now, is there any local interest stories, or you're telling us you may not enter this triathlon, but you're telling me about the guy from Murphy?
We have Calaveras County has I don't want to say we have a rich triathlon history, but Calaveras County has probably a dozen hardcore triathletes, and some of them go back as far as the early 80s, which, while may not sound old, is old for this sport. The sport began in the late 70s, so the early 80s is actually pretty old in the sport. And we have a local in Murphys, Vic Lyons is his name. He turned 81 years old this summer. Vic has done Bear Valley probably a dozen times, 10 times out of the 14 years we've held it, and he does a lot of our other ones. And what I was mentioning to you is I have a suspicion he did a race this summer on his 81st birthday, and I have a gut feeling that was his way of saying goodbye to the sport.
Right.
He's been in it 25 years, and it's his 81st birthday, and they're getting harder and harder to do. That's a nice way to say goodbye.
Right.
And we should all be so lucky to be able to do that on our 81st birthday.
Now, you have a fascinating business, and I think that the nice thing about Calaveras County, there's a lot of characters in the area and stuff and a lot of texture to it. But yours is, you have to be one of the biggest triathlon promotion companies out there. I probably mangled that and didn't say it right.
But if people understand what you mean, that works. We are probably, in terms of the number of triathlons that we produce or manage each year, we would be one of the 2 or 3 biggest in Northern California, probably one of the top 2. We are probably one of the top half dozen in the Western U.S. Triathlete magazine in March of 2003 looked at 3,000 triathlons in North America and chose, they didn't limit themselves to the top 10 or the top 20. They just chose the ones they felt were the best. They chose 14 in North America to talk about and display as the best, and one of ours was one of those.
Nice.
So we're really pleased. That's kind of nice.
Now you'll use as many as 60 in a year? Is that?
We do 60 events a year.
Okay.
But the profile of those is different. We don't manage all of those.
Oh, okay.
I couldn't handle the stress level if we did. We own some of our own events. We manage events for other organizations. Okay. Think of a bar association. They're attorneys. They go to work being attorneys.
Right.
They want to put on a run in their name, but they don't want to spend the time to do it. They will pay us to do it for them. Probably half of our events, we are just the timing company. We create the database of the entrants, we time it, and we give them results.
Right.
And those are, while they're fun to do, they're pretty low stress compared to managing.
Oh yeah.
All in all, the ones we own and manage are probably 24 events a year, and that's quite enough, thank you. Of those, 10 of them are triathlons, 10 to 11 a year.
That's got to be challenging, on family time and all kinds of. You've probably worked out the balance over the years, huh?
Yeah, you give up your weekends in the spring, the late spring, the summer, and the fall. I don't have weekends, but I'm fairly free midweek. There is a lot to be done midweek, but I can pick and choose the time.
Right.
Consequently, as an example, I've seen virtually every baseball game my children have played, because here in Ebbets Pass, those are played midweek.
Right.
Now, on the other hand, I've missed most of their soccer games because those are played on Saturdays in the fall, and I'm usually not around. But it's nice what I do, because the only time that's dictated to me is the actual time of the event.
Right.
I have to be there for that. Other than that, I can pick and choose.
I guess to finish up, now what's the base, the final stuff on this weekend then? What time you start? How do people enter?
We've got about 175 to 200 that'll show up on Sunday morning. If you'd like to register, you can do one of two things. You can go online and register through active.com, which you can link to that through our website.
Okay.
If you want to get in or you have questions about triathlon, don't hesitate to call me. Our number is 209-795-7832.
And we'll put this in the accompanying article as well.
And I'm happy to. I've been talking beginners through triathlon for 20 years, so I'm happy to do that. Show up. The real only caveat is you must have a bike helmet.
Right.
We hold to that because we care about you and we don't want to bag you and tag you. And our insurance company likes it too, by the way. So have a helmet, have a bike, have a pair of running shoes. If you want to do it naked, we encourage that. That will actually increase our publicity, which would help. Water is approximately 70 degrees. It is swimmable, but if you have a wetsuit and you don't like cold water, I would recommend that. Race starts at 10. First finishers will be just under an hour, and the slowest people will be just over 2 hours.
Okay.
There is a free barbecue afterwards down at Tamarack Lodge, so you can join us after that. Family and kids are welcome. They have reduced prices for that.
Very
so
nice.
Come and join us.
Hey, thanks for stopping by. I really
John,
appreciate it.
glad to do it.
Really appreciate it.
And you're going to come up and do the race, right?
Well, I don't know.